Okay, party people, let's do this. Week 2 of YouTube. OMG. Welcome back to my bedroom. Nothing more exciting. Okay, let's begin. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Testimony Podcast. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, or you're watching on YouTube, I'm so glad to have you here. It's so fun. Week 2 of YouTube. This is crazy talk. And yeah, we're here. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out, and that'll be in the show notes in the description if you want to go subscribe. I probably will start doing vlogs at some point, but my life is a little bit chaotic at the moment because Sam and I, my husband Sam, and I are actually moving. Now it's going to be just in a couple days, which is so crazy. And it's crazy because we have lived at this apartment for the last 4 years. And before that, when I had moved out of my parents' house, this was the apartment that I moved into. So it's just been quite a journey of spending a lot of time here and being here for many seasons. And so actually, that was kind of what inspired this episode. Sam and I have just been having a lot of conversations about transition and thresholds and moving past certain seasons and eras of life. And to be honest, it's just something that I really want to talk about because I feel like everybody goes through transitions, but I'm realizing as this one's coming about that for the first time, honestly, in my life, and I don't know if it's maybe just because I'm getting older or what the case is, but I just feel like I'm realizing the weight of transition for the first time ever. And what I mean by that is there are seasons of our lives, there are eras of our lives, there are chapters of our lives, and then there are whole new books of our lives where something entirely ends and something entirely new begins. And if you're not prepared for it, if you're not really present for it, it will either pass you by and you'll miss all that God has for you in that transition, or you'll hold on to it and you'll stay longer than God had intended or desired for you to stay in that season. Whether that was you physically stayed longer than you were supposed to, or it was mentally, emotionally, you stayed longer than you were supposed to. I mean, there might even be people listening to this episode who transitioned years ago into a new book of their life, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever that might be, they never left that season. And I feel like God's just really been putting it on my heart, especially lately, that there are people that need to move that have been choosing to stay stuck, have been choosing not to go into the new territory, into the new season that He has for them. And God's saying it's time to move, it's time to leave, because He does not want you to miss out on all that He has for you in this new season. And I'm feeling the weight of that. I'm feeling the weight of I have to transition no matter what, but it's hard and it's uncomfortable, and part of me doesn't feel ready for it. Part of me doesn't feel ready to even let go of this current season that I'm in, because it's come with so much good. And I think maybe that's why we do want to stay in old seasons or in the past, or, maybe you're even someone who calls yourself just a very nostalgic person, but reality is that you've just never left an old season. And so obviously this apartment is more than just where we've been living for 4 years. I feel like for us, this apartment symbolizes a lot more than just a space we've lived in. It really genuinely symbolizes, in a lot of ways, Sam and I's youth, like our childhood, even though we've been here as what you would say adults, obviously. But we grew up here, So Sam started screen printing here. He started sewing here. He went through different jobs here. He started school here. And he grew up from a boy to a man here. And then for me, it was like, I went through a lot of emotional stuff here. So I really, really had to deconstruct the idea that, like, honestly, mental health was just a chemical imbalance, and that was that. And I had to start really diving into things like trauma. Really had to start confronting things that I've honestly just been running away from for years. And so I went through this big, long experience of actually getting sick here, being really, really sick here, having to work through trauma, having to work through sickness, and then starting my practice here, starting so many things here. But amidst all of that and our own adventures, Sam and I have grown so much together here. And every room, I think about memories that we've made, or like we sold this couch that we had since the beginning of moving here yesterday. And Sam started crying. I had cried earlier in the week. But it wasn't because we liked the couch. The couch is nothing special. It's honestly, we got it for like $90 on Facebook Marketplace. It was a nice couch. It was a fine couch. We were feeling emotional about it because every single night when we would come home, we don't we have a TV, but we have it's still in a box. And so, anyway, all that to say, every night that we would come home, we sit in this couch, and I lay on one side, he lays on the other side, and we just talk for hours. And this is the couch where we cry, where we laugh, where we share like the deep parts of our hearts. It's like these times and these seasons, they just hold so much. They hold so much rich history of such good memories shared. And, our kitchen table, or just this whole place. I mean, from the pool at our leasing office is really special to us, to the trail around the leasing office, all of it. So, all that to say, I had listened to a podcast recently, actually two podcasts, and they both really marked me on this topic of transition. They were really pivotal for me because, I don't know, they just did something in me where I was like, I don't want to go through transition frivolously. I don't want to go through it mindlessly. I really want to engage with it. And because I think that it honors the season before it, and it honors all of those really beautiful times if you're able to grieve it and to hold space for it and to then move into a new season with joy. And so I was listening to this podcast, and he was saying how he went over to his friend's house, and this house that his friend had was old. It was, had a lot of character. It was a kind of more of a starter home, but just really simple. It wasn't like this brand new build, wasn't this perfect, beautiful house. It was really homey, really old, really, really young. And he was like, oh my gosh, I love this house. And the guy who's talking, he's very wealthy, so he has like this gigantic house, big pool in the backyard, tons of land. He's got the house that everyone probably dreams about. And he was like, I love this house. And his friend was like, why? Because his friend loves his house, the guy who is talking on the podcast. And he's like, why do you love my house? Like, my house in comparison to yours is nothing, basically. And the guy was like, because your house reminds me and is like symbolic of a time that I can never go back to. That sometimes I wish I could go back to, but I never can. And that it just hit me, and it probably hit me because of the timing and us moving and us having a baby and all of that. But I feel that so deeply. And as I'm like packing all the boxes and moving stuff out, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really hard to leave, because this is going to be a time that I look back on and I'm like, that was so special. Sam and I were kids. We did whatever we wanted. We'd go get ice cream whenever we wanted. We'd stay up late and talk. We'd laugh. We'd be goofy together. We just had such a good time there. And we could never go back. Like, we'll never be able to go back to that season. And I've like spent a lot of time crying about it, because I feel like then this is the other podcast I had been listening to, is the gal was saying how she will mentally envision herself like holding a funeral for these seasons that are coming to an end, because she's like, I'm just aware that these seasons need to be honored and they need to be confronted for the fact that they are ending, so that I can step into that next season that's going to be really good with joy. And so both of those things have just been really hitting me lately. And, you know, a lot of people will be like, oh, but you're going into something so fun. Like, you're going to have a baby and you're going to go into a house and you've been in an apartment. Like, it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And it's like, I get that. And that's totally true. And I feel that. But it's okay. I think that it's really funny because I can feel how people can kind of get uncomfortable with grief or with just feeling sad about something or letting something have heavy emotions. And, I can feel people like trying to rush me past that, but it's necessary. Like, those emotions are necessary because they either fuel you being numb in the future, or they cause you to be stuck in the future because your reality has moved on, but internally, your internal reality has stayed stuck in a past season that God was calling you out of long ago, but you never left spiritually, mentally, or emotionally. So I've just been thinking a lot about transition, and I'm really almost grateful that we're having this physical move, because I feel like it's really reflective of this spiritual, mental, emotional, like I've just been talking about, but like personal transition that I need to make as well going into motherhood. And I think something that was really big for me going into pregnancy was I work with a lot of moms, I work with a lot of women, and I noticed that there were so many moms that kind of didn't really realize what was going on with pregnancy and what was about to change and how they were about to change, how their lives are about to change. And then they have this child and they're like, holy crap, everything changed overnight. I don't really get to be fully the person that I was before. Not in a bad way. It's just that your life and your day and your agenda just is going to look different. Not that it's bad, it's just reality. And they were kind of like, it just caught me by surprise. I just wasn't really ready for it. And that was just something that I was like, man, I really want to be intentional to engage with every part of this, the fears that come up, the places in me that are like, oh, I'm not ready to leave being a gal that just has all this free time, or, whatever. Like, I wanted to confront those places. And I wrote this long note in my phone the other day because I was just feeling this whole experience of like, I'm obviously who I've always been. I'm me, I'm Lyndon, but I'm not. Like, there's something different about me. There are things that are changing in me, and they're just changing, and I don't really feel like I almost get a say in them. Because it's like my body is preparing to be a mom. My body is preparing a child in my womb. So naturally, things are going to change. My passions, my interests, like, they're going to shift a little bit. And I just found myself feeling like, this is really interesting. I feel like I'm getting to know myself all over again. And the last time that I could even really match this feeling or experience to was honestly probably 5 or 6 years ago, like when I had gotten sick and all of that stuff, and I kind of realized I had been living in this state of chronic fight or flight, chronic burnout, honestly. And I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I've been disassociated for like 20 years of my life. I should probably, get to know this girl so that I can come back to my body and I can enjoy being here. And I kind of had this whole experience where I was like trying to curiously get to be, interested in the way God made me and how He made me, and not change it or shapeshift for other people, but just like be me. And I finally felt like I got to a place where I was like, okay, I get you. I get what you're kind of like, and this is what you like. This is who, whatever. I I had that experience, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to get this, I have to get to know this whole new version of myself all over again. And the weird part about becoming a mom is that, oh, sister just kicked. That was so cute. She's like, get that microphone off of me. Um, the weird thing about becoming a mom is that you know that you're about to be or take on a role that's completely different, but you also know that it was who you were always created to be in a way. And it feels natural, but it feels unnatural. And it feels exciting, but it feels scary. It feels foreign, but it feels familiar. And it's this weird place where you've just never met her yet. You just haven't met her yet. And you know that you're going to meet her, and you know you're going to enjoy her, you know you're going to like her. But you just don't know her. You just don't know what she's like yet. And it's like moving into a new house. It may be the best house, it may have all the things, all the bells, all the whistles, and you know that it's going to be home to you. You know that it's going to feel homey at one point, but you've never seen the light come through the window in the morning. You've never felt what it's like to be there in the winter, to be there in the summer. You've never experienced what it's like to lay in bed at night and you're not familiar with the sounds. You're not familiar with which boards creak in the floor. You just haven't lived there yet. So you just don't know it yet, and it hasn't become home yet. And that's how I feel about becoming a mom is I'm so excited to become a mom, but I just don't know that version of me yet. And she feels foreign, and I'm excited to meet her. I think she's going to be even better than this version now, but I just haven't, she's not lived in. She's not experienced. I don't know what she's like, and I am just in this place where I'm trying to be very compassionate and curious about her instead of, kind of like I talked about in the beginning, force her to be an old version of herself because it's familiar and comfortable and it feels right, instead of let her just become who she is and who she's going to be in this new season. Hopefully it's resonating for someone. I don't really know. All that to say, I just feel like I'm having this whole season of reintroduction to myself and to my life where I'm trying to get to know things in a completely new way. And I'm trying to grieve the old and, like I said before, have those funerals for this season because I've really loved my time and Sam and I's time in this apartment and all that it stands for. And we've just been talking about memories that we have. We've been talking about things we love. We've been just being more present with really small stuff, like laying in bed and the fact that we can see the sunset out our window. You know, it's just like everything just feels magnified that used to seem so mundane, and we're just celebrating it because it's like it's ending, you know? And then at the same time, we're like learning how to be excited about stepping into something new. And there's just this weird tension. There's just this weird tension of like being able to grieve, but not letting that grief like taint the future. And then also, you know, holding space to grieve when you just want to run away from it and then just get to the next season. Because how you leave a season also sets you up for how you step into the next season. That's why these transitions, these thresholds in our lives are so important because they really matter. They're launch pads for something entirely new. And that's why it's so important to engage in them, because if you don't, if you're not asking the Lord, what do you have for this next season? What are you asking me to plant? What are you asking me to pursue? What am I enjoying in this season? What are the passions that I have? Because we change, we're going to miss it. And we're just going to keep forcing ourselves that have changed to go back into these boxes of what was familiar and what we know, instead of letting ourselves grow and be different. The other day I was walking past Lowe's and I was just praying and I was talking to the Lord, and I was like, Lord, will you just speak to me? What do you want me to be praying for in this next season? What do you want me to be thinking about what seeds do you want me to be sowing. And literally, as I'm walking by Lowe's, there's a sign and it says, fall is for planting. And I just felt like it was really prophetic in that moment, because I feel like for Sam and I, like a year ago was a big season of planting. We were planting in generosity, financially. We were planting in tons of prayer and faith and believing for things. And then we got pregnant and a lot of things started shifting, and honestly, this has been like a harvest season probably in the last 8 months. And it's just felt like, oh my gosh, so much of what we were planting is harvesting. And it's been really sweet. Honestly, it's been really sweet, because after a season of feeling like you're toiling and planting and doing the work, when you step into that season of harvest, it's just like, wow, this is beautiful. And you also see how important it is to plant spiritually. And so, but I feel God calling me back into that season of like, okay, you've had your harvest season. Now it's important to plant again, so that come the next season, you can have another great harvest. And yeah, I'm just like praying about what that looks like and what God's asking of me in this transition, because I don't even know what the vision for the future is. And that's what's kind of weird about transition too, is it's like it's a plane that's taking off and you see it until it goes into the clouds and then it just disappears. And it's like the plane's still moving, it's still going, it's still there, but it's behind the clouds and you can't see it. You don't know the direction, you don't know the velocity. It's just there somewhere. And I kind of just feel like that's where we're at right now, is okay, I'm experiencing this need to close this chapter, to celebrate this chapter, and to start being curious about how I'm changing, who I'm becoming, what passions and desires are changing in me, and also like engaging with the Lord. And it feels really confusing. It feels like I have no idea what's forward. I always had this kind of general outline of what was next, and now it just feels like I just flew into a bunch of clouds. And so I just feel like it's this experience of walking day by day, one day at a time with the Lord, step by step by step, where you're just asking Him, what does it look like to plant? What does it look like to transition well? What is it that you're asking me to pray for, to believe for? How can I hold space for the past season and grieve it and honor it well? And how can I be curious about this next season and who you're asking me to be, what you're asking me to prioritize, what you have for me to step into? And kind of on that topic of talking to the Lord and asking Him questions, going back to where we were saying at the beginning, how there might be people listening who know that they were supposed to leave a season and they didn't, or they were supposed to transition in life, whether internally or externally, and they're still stuck. And I just want to address what it's like to feel afraid to let go of what's familiar, to let go of what's comfortable, to let go of what you know. And I think when it comes to you as yourself, as a person, at least for me, what I was experiencing was this feeling of I liked who I was before and who I feel like I'm about to step into or become. I just don't know if I'm going to like her. That was kind of a holdup for me. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to like her. What if she is not as valuable as I think that this person in this season is? And what I mean by that is, I think that in transition seasons, because naturally you have to let go of things. You have to move on. You have to release things. You have to literally let things die to go into a new season and to pick up new things. It's hard because you see where in your life you've created idols, or you've created like an identity out of something that was never meant to be your identity. So I don't know. For me, I was just thinking, and I was talking to Sam about it the other day, of like, for example, how I think and how I process things, or the way that I'm able to communicate or to write or whatever, like that really, I really value it. It really matters to me. And I think that God made me to think in the way that I do. But at the same time, like even just being pregnant, I don't feel like I think the same. It sounds so ridiculous. And it might be different for someone else. Like maybe it's how you look physically, or maybe it's how you can drop anything and go see your friends all the time, or be the yes girl. I don't know what it is for you. But for me that was kind of what it is, and it probably will also be like my time, my free time, but again, I haven't necessarily had to stop my current rhythm. So I'm sure I'll feel that more when the baby comes, of like, okay, I'm not used to being on someone else's schedule. I've always been used to being on my schedule. This is really hard. And probably more so of like that shift in productivity is going to be a challenge for me, where I've always been someone that's wanted to work and be productive and produce things. And naturally, when you have kids, it slows that down by God's grace. Honestly, it's probably a gift, if anything. But I know that I'm going to feel like, oh my gosh, am I even valuable? I could see myself experiencing that. But as of right now, just in the way that I think, I'm feeling that idle die, because I don't think about things the way that I used to. And I think it's genuinely God's design, because when you have a child growing in your womb, you just think about them a lot. You think about maternal things a lot. And this other part of me that wants to be this entrepreneur and produce and this and that is like, you're not thinking about anything substantial. That's what this lying voice is saying. Even though a human and another human's life is extremely substantial, that just goes to show you guys how priorities can get off, okay? This is something I struggle with. So, putting that out there. But that idol that I've been really sacrificing on this altar of is is starting to starve, and it's starting to roar its ugly head, because I can't feed it in the way that I used to. Like sometimes I just don't even have thoughts, which is very uncommon for me. I'm used to being able to like think about things and think about them deeply, and I still do. It just looks a little bit different, and it's about different things than it used to be. And so I'm just like feeling that little bit of a nagging voice where it's like, oh, you're just not going to be a deep thinker anymore, or you're not going to be valuable to other people because you won't be able to offer that. That's actually the root of it. And that's always what it is with anything that we struggle to let go of about ourselves, is deep down there's a root that is keeping us in a place of thinking that it's making us feel worthy or feel valuable. So we don't want to lose it, because if we lose it, if we let it go, then we're afraid to know ourselves without it. We're afraid to be loved or experienced by others without it. We're concerned if other people will even love us or like us without it. And that's kind of how I'm feeling, is okay, not only will I like this next version of myself, but will other people like this next version? Will other people find this version valuable? And I'm just realizing how much how much weight I put in the wrong things, really. Because no matter what, those things always are futile, and they're fleeting, and no one's ever going to make me feel valuable enough. No one's ever going to make me feel worthy enough. And that's where like the beauty of this transition experience is in all of these things that you think are overwhelming, or you think are gross, or whatever, that are coming up. That's where the Lord's like, I want to do the work. I want to start dealing with this, because I want your worth, I want your value to be in me. I want how you think and your gifts and the things that I've put inside of you to be rooted in me instead of in your ability. And so I think that that's something that have had to work through as far as like trying not to get stuck in old seasons, because I noticed myself trying to resist what would naturally come up, and I was trying to force what used to come up. And so you start to see, like, the other hard part is that even though it used to be easy for you, it slowly starts to become more difficult to sustain, because God's trying to move you forward, and you're trying to, for lack of a better words, keep a dead man alive. And the Lord's like, this person is stuck in the old season. Either you stay stuck with them or you move on and you let go of what they once had to embrace something better. And that's what I think I have to keep reminding myself is what's coming is even better than what was. But if I don't let go, I won't get to know that. And you also have to ask yourself, what about this next person, what about this next season is valuable? And I may not look at it as valuable right now, but it is valuable. Why don't I see it as valuable? Because there are also things like I have always really loved to work. Like, I've loved to produce, I've loved to create businesses, I've loved to create things and just be like in an entrepreneurial mind. And that's something that I've always seen as like valuable, or I don't know, maybe just valuable, I guess is the only word I can really think of. And so this shift of, okay, I'm going from producing a lot with work to, for a season, especially while my child is young and while we're in those younger years with kids, like, I'm going to be really, really full-time mom. I'll obviously always be a mom, but there's a complete difference than, a 2-year-old versus a 22-year-old who's not even in the house anymore. So there's just like a shift that needs to happen, and that's a good shift, but I'm not going to be working and producing like I'm used to. And so just like a being able to address that place in me that feels like, oh no, will I be valuable? Will the work that I'm doing be valuable? And be able to look at this new season with so much wonder, so much childlike wonder of, what does it have to teach me? What do I get to learn from it? What do I get to learn about myself, about life, about others? What do I get to learn from this new season about what is really valuable? And I'm really excited, honestly, for being a mom, because I think that it's such an opportunity to get to honestly like choose to engage in childlikeness again, and to slow down and to like actually see what in life matters, because we go through life and we grow up, and then from like 15 to 20 something, whenever you end up having kids, you have this drive of like, oh, I can do anything, I can change the world, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, sky's the limit, this is all that matters, producing is all that matters, whatever, whatever. And then you have kids and you start growing up and you start getting older, and it's like you hit the peak and then you start coming down once you're probably in your 60s, 70s, 80s. This is just what I hear. Obviously, I'm only 26. Where you're like, okay, that life happened, and the peak of it happened. And the reason I personally love being around older people is because they have learned the lesson of what really matters. They, for the most part, they have learned their lesson of being able to love your family, being able to have good friends, being able to have rich moments, go out for ice cream, sit out at the park, go on walks, whatever. And they see the things in life that are so valuable that you just don't see when you're young and you think that the sky's the limit and that all that ever matters in life is like what you can achieve. And I think that I'm excited for that when it comes to being a mom, because I really think that that's going to be a gift. And it's going to feel like death in some ways. I think transition does feel like dying, because in some ways parts of you do die. But I'm okay with that, because I think that what my children will have to show me, what slowing down will have to show me, what family will have to show me, and that whole experience will be far more valuable, far more rich than just trying to pursue a career or to pursue some, American dream or some success or whatever. And so, all that to say, I just think that there's a grief and there's a gift in transition. And I think that I'm just really learning how to engage with it in a way where I don't miss all that it has to teach me. And I don't miss being able to honor the past season and step into the new season prepared and engaged and excited and ready to embrace the mundane moments and the things that are going to look different but are going to be just as or even more valuable than what was before. So that's just something that I've been talking to Sam a lot about, and something that I've been thinking a lot about. And I just wanted to talk about it on the podcast because I think that it is something where people do get stuck and you just don't even realize it, or maybe you haven't even processed it in your brain. You just feel like a different person and you feel a longing to go back, or a longing to maybe even journey back into your body right now, but you feel like you don't know who that person is anymore, and that feels too scary. As always, if you hear me say anything, hear me say to talk to God about it and to ask Him, if you don't know, Lord, where am I? Am I past the transition? Have I transitioned? What haven't I been able to grieve about it? What haven't I been able to embrace about it? Have I moved to the place that I was supposed to move? And what do you have for me in this next season? What does planting look like? Honestly, that's about all I got for you guys. I would love to keep going, even because we're only 38 minutes in, but I really don't have anything. So, life update is that I'm 30 weeks pregnant and feeling fabulous. I'm starting to feel the weight of third trimester, in the sense of literally the weight of third trimester. Walking up the stairs has never been so tiring. I had a 7-hour wedding, or 7-hour wedding. What am I talking about? It was not a 7-hour wedding. It was more like a 9.5-hour wedding that I did that I did photos for on Saturday, and today's Monday. And yesterday, Sam and I kind of putzed around, and we didn't really rest. And today, I feel like a freight train hit me. I was 5 hours into the wedding, and my soul just left my body, and I was like, must survive at all costs. Must survive at all costs. So now, I'm just kind of catching up to getting back my functioning brain. And yeah, so here we are. All that to say, I genuinely don't have anything else. My brain is completely empty. This is exactly what I was talking about in this episode. And you know what? I'm just going to let it happen. So, Lord, thank you so much for every single person listening. God, I pray that if there was anybody who can resonate, that you would just speak to them today, that you would reveal to them where they are at. I pray that you would show them what transition looks like. Lord, I pray that you would show them what you have for them in this next season. God, I pray that there would be excitement, but there would also be the beauty of being able to grieve, the beauty of being able to hold space for such sweet moments that have been had in this old season, this old era, and to be able to tuck them away into the places of their heart to keep as memories, but also to know that even better memories are on their way. So God, I just pray a grace over every listener, and I pray that you would bless them. In Jesus' name, amen.